should be on too, though. They might have them turned off. Okay, yeah, knock on the door in there.
Choice.
Yes.
Would it be okay to sit on the side?
Sure. Testing, testing. Just trying to get the volume.
Which one are each?
So we want to use this and then we want all of them active. I think it's probably not connected.
Oh, give me one second. I'm gonna grab
Or
it.
maybe it's back here. Sometimes it's back here.
No, that's all good. I'm gonna grab
Okay.
the iPad.
All right. Were they?
Yeah.
I wonder how that happened. That's me. Well, we're connected to the Wi-Fi. It's going to redo it to my phone. It's going to slow the screen. But that's about the only thing.
It should be working because
It
this.
was before, but testing, testing.
Eric is good now. It's working. Eric is
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's working. They were working before.
I can actually hear it over there.
So I'm going to get started. Does this work? Maybe it's the speaker. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
When you talk in there, I can hear like it's sounding.
Testing, testing. Maybe if you turn it off and back on, I mean, I don't know, to reconnect it. Give us, we're trying to get the microphones connected, okay?
That one was just unmuted, sorry, go ahead.
Testing, okay, perfect. We've got it worked. Wonderful. Thank you.
Good job. That one's for the mains, this one's for the lectern.
Well, again, welcome everyone. We're ready to get started after a little technical difficulties with the microphone. But to welcome us for our European Union Parliamentary Community Forum, because this is a forum specifically for our community, I'd like to invite the president of Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, Dr. Dave Schankwaller. Please join me in welcoming.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our special guests. Welcome to the United States, and most definitely welcome to Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. We're a fairly young school. We started 25 years ago with just an idea, and then this past May, we graduated our 20th graduating class, and we graduated 1,000 students on that day. We have undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral programs here, as well as professional development programs. In all, this past year, we probably had about 10,000 students in all those programs. And I am most proud to say that our student population represents about 106 countries from around the world. And we welcome them with open arms. We have a very robust master's program, and a good number of them are master's students with us here at the university. So welcome. If you need anything or need more information, I'm always happy to talk about Harrisburg University. Thrilled you're here and looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Well, as a community here in the Harrisburg area, we're so proud of this school, this institution here, which is, as he said, is young, but is making a real difference, I think, and a mark on the world with as far as technology goes. So I want to also take the opportunity to thank some of our partners who are here, specifically the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. They are a strong partner for us in all of our events. They're right there, and they show up to offer their expertise and their guidance and their support. So would the members of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission stand so we can express our appreciation? Thank you. Just so you know, this is the organization in state government that is charged with helping monitor extremism, helping protect civil rights and human rights in our own area. So they really are important to us. I also want to take the opportunity, I think a few of our interns, our coming interns for the summer program, if you are an intern about to start a program with the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg this summer, please stand so we can welcome you as well. Very good. Excellent. So nice to have you. And we expect to have a very active summer with you, teaching you, inundating you in global as well as local and national affairs. All right. So the reason we are here, once again, for those who don't know us, this is the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg. And we are part of the World Affairs Councils of America Network. I just left a leadership meeting in Santa Fe with heads of councils from all over the country. Almost 90 councils are trying to do yeoman's work in helping people in our cities and communities better understand the world. This is important for the United States of America. I don't have to tell you that a lot of people only care about their own backyards. We have a mission of making sure they expand their horizons and understand their place in the world and how the world impacts our backyards, our own backyards. I also want to, before we get started, I introduce the reason we're here, our European Union delegation. I want to thank our board of directors and the volunteers who are here. Would you please stand, our board of directors, so we can thank you for your help. Dr. Mehdi Norbash, who's vice president of this organization. Dr. Shirley Warshaw, who is a presidential scholar from Gettysburg College, retired. Pastor Russell Goodman, who also happens to be my husband. And we also have volunteer Cole Goodman, who's our outreach ambassador. Sam Pimentel, who's here. They're just being shy. And I wanted to specifically introduce Mary Gabrielle, who's our new program manager. She's probably out. Oh, there she is. Very good. All right, so why don't we get started? We are delighted to invite a special delegation from the European Union to share with us the issues that they think are important for us to know, particularly relating to the war between Russia and Ukraine. We need more information on that, and so they are here with the expertise to be able to provide us. And as I call their names, I would ask them to please come to the fore and take a seat at the panel. First, we have a very easy name, Ms. Louise Brown. She is the European Affairs Committee from Denmark. She is a Danish politician. She was elected a member of parliament for the Liberal Alliance in the 2022 Danish general elections. Please come, Ms. Brown. Thank you. We also have Mr. Michael Kaminski, Deputy Secretary of the Senate from Poland. He is a Polish politician and a member of the Senate with the Union of European Diplomats. He was chairman of the European Conservatives and Reformists in the European Parliament from July 29 until 2011. And we have Mr. Žygimantas Pavilionis, who's Deputy Chair of Foreign Affairs Committee for Lithuania. He is a Lithuanian politician, a member of the Seimas, a former Lithuanian diplomat, and from August 2010 to 2015, he served as Lithuania's ambassador to the United States and Mexico. And we were privileged only a few weeks ago to host the foreign minister of Lithuania for a special session here. So we love Lithuania. And another, I actually lived in Paris, so I'm really prejudiced toward France, but Mr. Frédéric Petit. He's Deputy Chair of European Affairs Committee in France. Please, bienvenue. And he is a French engineer and politician, a member of the Democratic Movement. Since the 19th of June in 2017, he has been serving as a member of the French National Assembly, where he represents the 7th constituency for French residents overseas. And finally, but certainly not least, is Mr. Tobias Winkler. He's a member of the Foreign and European Affairs Committee from Germany. Welcome. He is a German politician for the Christian Social Union in Bavaria. And since 2021, he has been a member of the Bundestag, the federal diet. So again, we are most honored to have you here with us. And I think the way we will do this, I think each one of you wants to offer us some remarks. You should feel free to do that from here, or if you want to take the microphone and just be comfortable and seated, we're all informal here, so whatever you feel most comfortable with. So we will start in the order in which they were introduced with Ms. Louise Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I think it's very important that that we can come around to different countries and states to tell you about our thoughts on this situation that we're in Europe right now. For me, the most important thing, I think, is to try to explain to you how this actually affects us. Even though I'm from Denmark, which is a very, very small country, we feel this every day because I come from a parliament where we have 12 parties, but every single one of the parties are behind our Prime Minister on this issue. We have to continue our support to Ukraine. We have to continue both financial but also morally support to Ukraine. And as I said earlier today in another meeting, this is not a fight for Ukraine. This is a fight for our freedom in Europe. And it's a fight for the free world, as I see it. And of course, we have some issues or problems with the current president of the United States. As some of you may know, Denmark or Greenland is a part of Denmark, and we have had that Greenland issue with the president. And even though it seems as if it's a long way from here, it's still very important for us to stay united and to be united in Europe, but also with the United States of America, because we have, I know that we have for a long time in Europe leaned back and just relied on the US to come and save us whenever it was needed. But I think we have woken up now, which is good. But we are trying now. We are doing our very, very best to make up for what we haven't been doing good enough for the last couple of years. So we are trying in Europe right now, and I think it's really, really important that the United States keep on supporting and stays in the NATO, so that we can save of course the people of Ukraine, but also everybody's freedom, because in Ukraine they're sharing their blood, and they are fighting for themselves, but they are certainly fighting for everyone's freedom in Europe.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Kaminsky?
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for inviting me, and it's a great opportunity to talk to you, to share my views, and to exchange views with you. We are here to show you that European support for Ukraine is strong, and this pro-Ukrainian front between European countries, political parties, is united. This war, as was properly said by my colleague from Denmark, is not a pure geopolitical conflict between two countries. It's not even a conflict purely between West and East. It is a conflict about the soul of our civilization today. This is the conflict in which, miraculously, we observed the alliance of our enemies, which erased like from ashes. I was in Ukraine many times since the war began. I saw Iranian drones with my own eyes. So I got a message from Ukrainian side, and you will be surprised that the second largest international contingent of foreign soldiers fighting for Russia in Ukraine after North Koreans are Cubans. More than 4,000 Cubans are now fighting against Ukraine in Russia. So how do you think? For war with whom? They are preparing Cubans in Ukraine. I'm quite certain that Cuba is not preparing itself to fight against Lithuania, Denmark, or Poland. You see that Venezuela and China, another different allies of Russia, are present in Ukrainian war. The enemies of freedom and the enemies of the United States are not ashamed anymore of showing us that they are supporting each other, they are working each other together, and they are attacking us. The most important, I think, lesson, despite all the military issues I'm not a specialist in, the most important lessons we should draw from the war in Ukraine, which is not only fight in Ukraine, in the battlefield, but it's also now present in every of our societies, thanks to the Russian and Chinese influence in the social media and this fake news wave which is attacking us. They are attacking us from inside. And this is a very important lesson, I will tell you. We have the enemy which we see on the front. We see the Russian tanks, we see Russian and Persian or Iranian drones and so on. But we have this enemy inside because they want to destroy our system of values. They want to destroy our society. Look, the Russia, at least in Europe, is supporting radicals from left and from the right at the same time. Surprisingly, the same Russian money is flowing to the radical right parties and to the radical left parties. Why? Because Russia is not interested in any ideology. Please, I'm addressing it to some so-called conservatives in West. They are starting to believe that Putin and the KGB institutions are created for defending Christian values, traditional family, and all this stuff. Come on, guys, don't believe in it. The Russians are not interested in any ideology. Either it was a left ideology or now they are promoting a right ideology. It's just a tool in their hands. It's just a tool in their hands to destroy Western society. So we are here to tell you, we should be together. Don't leave us alone, because we need each other. America needs us, we need United States of America. And there is no reason why we should not be together. Why our enemies are together against us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kamensky. And just before we do, I just want to acknowledge that Dauphin County Commissioner Justin Douglas has joined us. Welcome. We're glad to have you here, Commissioner. And now, Mr. Pavlionis.
Thank you. Well, I was just thinking a bit from outside looking to us here. You have Germans, French, who had many wars between each other. You have Germans, Poles, who had also many wars against each other. You have Poles and Lithuanians who have been also killing each other quite successfully. But at the same time, and Danes, I didn't even mention the Vikings. Well, but today, actually, those Europeans who are, I would say, the most similar to Americans, what we try to create in EU, it's kind of America, you know, where we have so many nationalities, where we try to pull our sovereignty into Brussels, where we really fight for democracy and human dignity. And that's why sometimes when I hear in current Washington that Europe might be the enemy of America, I don't get it. Honestly, you know that in Pennsylvania you have many Lithuanians and Poles. You know why? Because we once already experimented with Poles and Ukrainians and Belarusians and Jewish communities in this area. We've been like European Union of the Middle Ages. For 500 years we've been living together and when we will, at the end of 18th century, we, like 3 years after American Constitution, we adopted first written kind of American Constitution in our territories. We've been annihilated by then authorities, autocratic regimes, you can say, because they didn't want this experiment to work. So we know it for so many times. And again, coming back to my own life, I was 19 years old. I remember Soviet tanks. I was standing at TV tower. I remember when they killed my own friends in front of my eyes, because we've been revolting, we've been fighting for freedom with this American dream in our hearts, because we've been listening to your Radio Free Europe that is now being dismantled. National Endowment for Democracy was financing first operations of Solidarność and Sąjūdis. We believed in that dream. And I still also remember Gorbachev, who came to Lithuania and said, oh, don't do it, you know, you will collapse. Look to us now. We thrive. We are rich as never before. No Russian and Belarusian, no regime can, you know, compare to the state we have. Today we shine. We fight for Taiwanese freedom. We have Taiwanese representation in Lithuania. We're harboring Belarusian dissident movement. We're helping Ukrainians as much as we can. We are harboring Russian dissidents. We shine this American freedom. but tell me, where is America now? Sometimes I feel more American than you here, and I'm telling it with experience. I was working here for 5 years as ambassador in Washington. And already then, under Obama, to be honest, I felt like that. I was wondering why Obama is kind of resetting relations with a killer regime in Moscow that just invaded my friends in Georgia. And the same picture. So actually we managed only with 2 presidents historically, Reagan and maybe Bush the Jr., who got the captive. Clinton, you managed, we didn't. Yes, yeah. They convinced Clinton to have a first round of NATO enlargement. But to be honest, this is like so difficult to explain to Americans to stay Americans, to fight for the values of your own constitution, because we can do it. Just maybe to finish on a more positive note, because we did it in the Baltics, we did it in Central Europe, but we can do it in Ukraine. And we will do it in Ukraine. With or without you, we will do it. EU doors are being opened to Ukrainians. They will join us. Well, we would love to have them 2030, maybe it will be 2032, we will see, but they are joining. And actually, you know, we will fix it all. We will kill all the Soviet viruses. We will build our defenses together with Ukrainians, because we are now building it together with Ukrainians. We have this EU money for defense that we spend together with Ukrainians, using their huge, wonderful experience. But we will need your support, because as Michael and, you know, I think my other friends will tell the same, we are fighting World War III there, guys, and you don't notice that. We have the whole wall of autocratic regimes trying to crush us, you know, us there. And you know who is the primary target? You. Not Ukrainians, not Lithuanians, not Poles. Your idea. They want to kick you out from Europe. And then Russia is going in, dividing as in ruling, and China is flexing the muscles and finishing with you, maybe in 2030, yes. Do you really want this? We are your front lines. We are the frontline nations that sense the enemy like 100 years before it's born. We are like Israelis or, I don't know, South Koreans of you there on the Eastern Fronts. Believe us, trust us, support us. And finally, NATO enlargement. You know, together with Michael, we've been in Bucharest NATO Summit in 2008. Then it was French and German governments to block us. It was a mistake, but let's don't make that mistake again. When I hear from Trump administration that NATO doors are closed to Ukraine, this is like inspiring Russia to occupy us all and test NATO finally. Because when Germans and French, because of different mistakes we all made in Iraq including, blocked it, it was a green light for Russia to occupy Georgia and then Ukraine. If we block Ukrainian NATO membership today, it will be green light for Putin to test NATO. And then Germans and your soldiers, and we will all go to war. And believe me, I understand that cost of freedom is huge, but you know, cost of losing the freedom is much bigger. We will pay a lot. Now we can still do it much more effectively, creating that American dream very far in the East, creating Europe whole and free, the idea of Reagan, the idea of many great American presidents.
Thank you for that. That was a pretty important warning that we heard. I also want to just emphasize what he said about Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, where I worked for 4 years. Actually, before coming to live in Harrisburg, I was living in Prague. And I was supervising broadcast services to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the countries of Central Asia. And what he is explaining to you is super important. This was America's way of promoting democratic values and human rights and supporting freedom around the world. It is under threat. It was almost closed. They have fought back, so it's open, but there's still the threat that government funding will not come. This is important, y'all. Voice of America, the same thing is happening. Voice of America is renowned around the world for helping promote democratic values. You need to know about this stuff. USIP, another United States Institute of Peace, where I also spent some time, is another one that's under threat. Their offices were taken over in Washington. They go around behind the scenes promoting peace and helping researchers better understand the world. They file suit, they've got their offices back, but once again, the threat that the money will not flow to keep them open is there. So thank you for raising that, because it's hugely important for Americans to be aware. All right, so let's move on to Monsieur Petit.
Thank you very much to be here. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to have this kind of assistance and to make this job. I will not repeat, because I think that as we are in Europe, we are united in the diversity. We are diverse, we are sometimes in conflict, but we are united. I will not repeat, but I would like to emphasize a few very concrete things, because our enemies who are attacking us on the information basis are saying, yes, value is blah blah, yes, democracy, what is democracy? Putin has been elected, okay? And when I was in the parliament the first day of the full invasion, I said to my colleague, it's not territorial, it's not, it's model. And what we have to understand, that I would like to share with you in 4 little points, is that this difference of model, this confrontation of 2 big models to manage how we will work, how we will live together in the next decade on this earth, you have very concrete thing. The first thing is very, you can say futile, it's not very important. But I remind that language. In European Union, we have 24 official languages. We have to hire specialists in Brussels who have to know perfectly how to translate Bulgarski, Cyrillic, in Gaelic. Because we decided that our 24 languages are official. Everything is translated in 24. You go on the site, you have 24 things. And I remind sometimes that it's not only 24 languages. We have 5 alphabets. 5 alphabet, okay? And when I say 5, I consider that Lithuanian and Czech is the same one. He won't agree with that, okay? Then this is, and on the other side, we have a guy saying, okay, your grandfather was speaking Russian, or you are speaking Russian, or your children will speak Russian because I will care about that, then I am the boss. Ruski mir. This idea is a bomb. This idea is a bomb. If we don't stop that, we will have a bomb. Simply that. Do you know that a tribunal in Moscow make a judgment on the Prime Minister of Estonia? Why are you doing that? She's speaking Russian. She's a Russian speaker. Then I have the right to judge her. No, we don't want this word. Of course, it's not very important, but you know, I'm believing that when you have more languages, you are more intelligent. And some ecologists are fighting for biodiversity for the planet. I am fighting for linguodiversity for the mindset. I think it's very important to have Lithuanian, and because sometimes you can express something very human in Lithuanian that you cannot in English or in French, and reversely. Then this fight, you can say that it's not very important, but I'm believing in that. Second example, what is a border? What is a border? You know that in March or May, I don't remember, or April 2022, Lavrov tried to justify the invasion, saying in an official conference, it was not in a corridor, okay, official conference. But look, suppose that the Wallon would have a problem with the Flamand in Belgium. Everybody would have understood that Macron take his military forces to defend the French minority in Belgium. No, there is no French minority in Belgium. There are Belgian citizens speaking French. And we cannot accept that. We cannot accept that. We cannot accept that because somebody is speaking one language, it's a prison. It's a determinist language. It's liberty. It's freedom. It's not prison. Second example. Third example, history. History is a science for us. History is a debate. You have in America the biggest history for this region, Tim Snyder, okay? Who is writing, who is fighting, who is discussing, debating. On the other side, history is a weapon. I remind always this fact. I was in Ukraine in August 22, we were together. August 22, at that time, we were 2 weeks before the counteroffensive. The Russians had difficulties, logistical, to defend the region of Mykolaiv, which was still invaded. Okay, to put their soldiers and weapons and so on. The same week, by ton, they delivered in all the schools of the occupied territories the new history book in Russian, Donbass, Heart of Russia. It's a weapon. It's as important as a soldier, as a cannon, to put that now, because we will have the first school days in 2 weeks. We have to put that now in the schools. Fourth example, what is a soldier? What is a soldier fighting? For us, a soldier, before all, it is a citizen. We don't give a weapon to anybody to say, defend me. We check, are you a citizen? On the other side, we have people mining, taking mines in Africa, even in Ukraine. They are getting, and the soldiers are exploiting mines because it's important. Then there are commerçants, they are prisoners, they are employees of company. Gazprom has a soldier division now, fighting. There are people from other countries. Lend me some soldier because I have not enough. Okay? This difference is also a difference that I don't want my children to live in a world where the soldier, there is no legitimate violence, as we said. Okay, the soldier is not a citizen. Very concrete example, which are not, when we are talking about values and so on, people are saying, okay, we can say well, yes or no, but those are very concrete examples. I will take a sentence for that, and for it's clear that we are together. We are not the same way to construct our democracies. In America, in Europe, and in Europe we have, even in Germany, they have 16 democracy different, okay, because they are not the same, and so on. But this kind of principle, we are together, we have to defend them, because we think that they are obvious, but they are attacked by an international of anti-democratic. They are attacked now by an international of anti-democratic. We will never be all the same. I don't want all to be the same, but we have to understand that we are fighting for something which is more than each of us. We are fighting for something which is more than each of us. And this international of anti-democratics is threatening us all. Then we have to answer all together. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci. And Herr Winkler from Deutschland.
So everybody proves that he is fluent in German. I appreciate it. Thank you much. Thank you for the invitation also.
Not
and,
quite fluent, but okay.
for you, yeah, and for the kind reception, and also for your attendance, of course. And thank you very much for Chigis. You might know, but it's on his initiative from the proud country of Lithuania, who brought us together. So a French, a Polish, a Danish, also an Italian who is not present today but will be with us tomorrow, and a German, and the Dutch, but also with the problem with the government right now. But he brought us together here, and we are here with a message. The message is to the United States: stay on board, fight for our way of life. So it's the American way of life, and you know what this means. It is much more than democracy. It means freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, equality of men and women, and these are the principles also we defend in Western societies. And democracies all over the world are under pressure. They are under threat from inside the societies, but also from outside, by hybrid warfare, by disinformation, by support of the forces who want to divide us, who want to radicalize us within our Western free societies. And liberal societies are weak because we also allow these influences from outside, and so they use exactly what for us is freedom, what for us is non-censorship and so on, and they misuse it for their purpose. Therefore, we have to stick together because we are in a minority. The way we live, the freedom we live, is possible maybe to 15% of world's population. 85% of world's population don't have this freedom we have. So when you look for a bigger picture, or you need a bigger or need a reason why we fight in this fight with the Ukrainians, it's about that. It's about the principles of our Western free liberal societies in democracy. And I come from Bavaria, as you said, and I'm very close to the city of Nuremberg. And when we remember the Nuremberg trials, they were the foundation for the international criminal law. And it was it is until today, one of the pillars of the rules-based order where we live as nations together. Respecting borders, respecting governments, respecting the other people. And the change to the world before was the rule of, before it was clear, the rule of the strongest will rule. So the strongest, and now it's the rule of law. And this change from the rule of the strongest to the rule of law, this is the benefit we had from the deep suffering we especially in Europe, but worldwide, we had in World War II. So our lessons learned and our lesson for all the Western societies is now the rule of law, and therefore we have to defend it. And when we say stay on board, our message, then we are very grateful for everything United States did for Ukraine in the last years. Already before our engagement as German, maybe already of other engagement, you trained the army, you equipped the army, you made it possible that the Ukrainians, the brave Ukrainian soldiers could defend their country so far against a superpower. Some gave after the full-scale invasion, some gave the Ukrainians 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then they said, then they will be, 3 days even. Yeah, okay, you were even more pessimistic. But you see, now it's more than 3 years. They suffer, of course, they suffer strongly. but they defend their country. And we all have been there. We all have been to Kiev, and we see the spirit in the society how to defend their country. But it's much more than defending their country. So therefore, our message really: stay on board, stop this war together. It's for the Ukrainians, and they give their life for our freedoms. It's for democratic Western world. It's for our principles. And it's our future in peace that is defended in Ukraine. So, once again, stay on board.
Thank you. Well, this is intended to be a dialogue amongst us with these, just to get directly from our European friends what is going on and why it's important to us. I will start with a question. I could talk to them and question them all day, but this is for you, so get your questions started. All right, Dr. Mehdi, you want to start open with a question? You'll have to wait for the microphone to come your way. No, people are hard of hearing. I've had that before, so. Well, in general, people are hard of hearing. Some people are, so go ahead.
Thank you very much. As an Iranian... Yeah. As an Iranian who is very proud to be part of this institution, and for 40 years I'm educating American students. My field is international relation, and in the international relation, my concentration was on the conflict, human rights, all of those issues. And that is my proudest point in my life, that I had that opportunity to teach a student. I did not have this opportunity, of course, in my country. I cannot go back because I am, of course, against the Iranian government. I'm ashamed of what the Iranian government did in Ukraine, supporting a thug. I'm talking about Putin, Russia. I want to go a little bit beyond your debate and discussion. Yes, definitely. That is about democracy. That is about, of course, human rights and those issues. But we have to go a little bit beyond that. That is about national sovereignty. When people decide to choose a type of government and borders, we have to respect them. I'm talking about the Ukrainian, and all of you know that the conflict with Russia, of course, started many, many years ago, but came to the surface from 2014. And it is not about NATO. It is not about NATO. Macron talked to Putin, Biden talked to Putin, and everybody knows that if somebody want to become a member of NATO, it has to have a unanimous decision. Everybody knows. And during the years, the French and the Germans were against, of course, the membership because of good reasons. It is not about NATO, because for many, many years, Finland and Sweden, they were not members of NATO. But now, because they are afraid, they are members of NATO. None of those members in NATO, they became members under the gun of the European countries. They came over there because of the security. If you want to understand, of course, it's about national sovereignty and something else too, that we have to go beyond democracy and those issues, is about far right and far left. That they want to, of course, they don't have any respect for the international institution. They don't have any respect for the rule of law and democracy. They don't have any, of course, respect for pluralism. They are for ethnic cleansing. They are for religious cleansing, as all of you know, of course, in Europe. You have, of course, seen it. If you want to see, of course, and one of the friends over here said that is not, about ideology. That is ideology. Ideology defines the outlook, the worldview, of course, of people. And if you want to see how Putin's, of course, ideology is, you better go and read Alexander Dugin. And the argument that the current border of Russia are not the real borders. The border of Russia takes place outside the current recognized borders. This is the ideology that they put the Tsar ideology, the communism ideology, and they now, of course, they summarize it under Putinism. They wanted, of course,
Dr.
they wanted.
Narash, I don't want to interrupt you, but let's.
Yeah,
we
I know,
need-
I know.
Okay, so do you
Overall,
want them to comment
overall,
or
my
question?
point, I had 2 points. Point number 1, it is an ideology. That is a very, Nazis, they had ideology. That's ideology. And number 2, think about overall national sovereignty. Those are sacred words after World War II that, took shape. And we have to respect it. Of course, under the national sovereignty comes democracy, the rule of law, and all of those issues. Thank you very much.
Would anyone like to comment on what Dr. Norbash basically said, that the 2 main issues he sees are still ideology, but also national sovereignty? Go right ahead.
I will say one very concrete thing that can help you in your discussion if you want, and very theoretical. The concrete is Crimea, because you talk about Crimea, okay? I remind you that before 2014, Crimea was elected his president, had a parliament elected for Crimea, because Crimea was autonome region, autonomic region in the frame of Ukrainian, okay? But they were electing their president, electing their parliament. They had this extraordinary language. They had the right, and sometimes they had to use the Tatar languages, this, these circles and so on. Now, the boss of Crimea is nominated by the Kremlin, and everybody is talking Russian. Okay, and if you are not talking Russian, you are not in Crimea yet, because it was okay. Then this example for Crimea, because people are saying yes, but in Crimea they are all speaking Russian now. Yes, now. Okay, then pay attention to this argument. Second thing, very theoretical. You talk about sovereignty of nation and so on. I'm talking about what is a nation. I think that in the 21st century, the idea of nation will not be a nation coming from language, coming from culture, or only coming from God, coming from, I don't know why. Nation will be nation of citizens. Citizens.
Very good. Okay.
Just one point
Yes, go right ahead.
on the Russian factor and NATO. Very good book of Lev Dobransky recently, by Paula Dobransky was issued, and he was trying to explain to all American administration that this is about Russian empire. It takes different shapes. One empire, communist empire, Putin's empire, but we all had our own empires, and all of them collapsed. And then we started to build this European family. The last Russian kind of 19th century empire is still fighting with us. We have to defeat it. We don't have to be afraid of that. We have to win. And then all those, citizens of a lot of captive nations still living in Russia, including Muslims and others, then they will be free to build Europe whole and free.
We're going to come back to that point about why it matters to Americans that Russia wants to restore its empire. But go ahead. Cole.
Thank you all for coming. Welcome to Harrisburg, by the way. I'd just like to take a moment to say, as a young Pennsylvanian, and to echo the words that our governor, Josh Shapiro, has said, we unequivocally stand by Ukraine. We do. We do. And if you have the time to go into the city of Harrisburg, go into Midtown, go into other places, my neighbors, our neighbors, have put up Ukrainian flags and have dismantled American flags because we are ashamed of our government right now. So I want all of you to know that you have hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians and millions of Americans that do not follow this administration. And we stand with you, and we want to fight with you, not just for Ukraine, but for the soul of our own country. Because my friend from Lithuania, you were talking about how Ukraine's fighting for its soul. We're fighting for our soul right now. But we're willing to do the double battle because we see the importance. But my question to you all is, your average American sitting at home, wanting to stand with Denmark, with Lithuania, with Poland, what can we do? What is the most effective way to the core, other than getting out to vote? Because don't you worry, we will do that. We're going to let them know we are not pleased. But other than getting out to vote, what is the most effective way to help Ukraine in its mission, but also help all of you as the EU in your mission? Thank you.
Ms. Brown, I see you're ready to answer.
Well, there's a lot of things that you can do, but I think one of the most important things is to teach, to tell people, to tell your children, to tell your neighbors, to tell everybody that you meet how things are in Ukraine. And maybe you have to go there, or, I don't know, speak to somebody who has been there, who has, I was there just this Sunday talking to 3 guys. One of them, he was 21 years old. He had just been freed from Russian prisonership. He was taken when he was 17 years old. He was told that the city he lived in was demolished. He was told that his family didn't want him anymore. He was told to write letters home, but the Russians kept the letters, never sent them to his family. And they could tell him, you see, nobody answers because nobody cares, and the city has been destroyed. He was 20 years old. He just came out of prisonership. And imagine what it does to a child to experience that, to get told that your family is gone or your city is gone. So the only thing you can do now is either to sit here and wait or fight for us, fight for the Russians. So many things are going on over there that we don't know about when we just sit at home. And I know everybody can't go to Ukraine, but I think the most important thing is to tell the stories, to make this real, because it is real. People are suffering, and they're fighting for everybody's freedom over there.
And if I may, you can just start with the small things. You know, small things. I remember my country was under the communist occupation, and the first words I knew in English was Nelson Mandela must be free. They were the first words I learned in English. Nelson Mandela must be free. Everyone was repeating it. In the communist-occupied Poland, we understood that Nelson Mandela in South Africa is actually fighting the same fight Lech Wałęsa is fighting in Poland. You know? So this understanding that we are all together is very important. But you can start with the small things. I'm sorry to say, but you still have Russian vodka at your bars. So why not drink Ukrainian vodka? When you are at the bar and you are just asking for your next shot, make sure you are not drinking Russian vodka. Just a simple thing. And just ask your bartender for Ukrainian or Polish vodka, or I'm not aware, or Danish beer. Yeah, no, but you know, and actually you can check which companies, American, European, Asian companies, which are present on your market, are still present on Russian market. So not any penny to the companies who are dealing with Putin. It should be our slogan for our everyday life. In Europe, I'm trying to repeat it every time. Don't buy Russian products, or don't buy the products who are somehow connected with Russia. And talk to the people. Talk to the people and repeat that this is the fight for the soul of American nation. This is the fight for soul of the Polish nation as well, of the German nation, of the whole Europe and the whole Western world. Let's say of the whole world. For the whole world. Why we are fighting. Now we are so also concerned about Taiwan, about what's going on in Taiwan. When I was a member of European Parliament, in 2014, I visited with a delegation of European parliamentarians, I visited Hong Kong. And I met the opposition at that time. I met opposition members of legislative body in Hong Kong. Today, all of them, 10 years after my visit to Hong Kong, all of them are in exile or in Chinese prison. And we are talking about Hong Kong, about the economical power, about the part of the United Kingdom some time ago. And democracy in Hong Kong is totally destroyed. Believe me, totally destroyed. So there is a lot to do, but we have to keep the spirit that we are all together. Chinese, Polish, Russians, as Russians who are fighting against Putin, there are not so many of them, but everyone who is fighting against Putin in Russia deserves our support and deserves our respect and our prayers.
So it sounds like the slogan is not one penny to Putin. Not one penny to Putin. That's what it sounds like.
That's a very good one, and I fully agree on the Ukrainian vodka. As a Bavarian, I don't fully agree on the Danish beer, but in principle, I think the message was clear. But when you ask what you can do, and you were a little bit emotional about your new government, what I would hope that the question of supporting Ukraine is not part of the political competition. As you heard in Danish parliament, there are 12 parties. They have many differences on many topics, but they agree on the support of Ukraine. And therefore, we need the whole society of the United States behind that. We also need the Republicans. We need the MAGA people. We need to tell them, to convince them, you cannot be big or great again as the United States without fighting for Ukraine. It's in your own deepest interest. Therefore, it's easy to blame the government, and we are not in the position to do that. You are, because we live in a free society. But it's important to have an agreement, a principal agreement on all democratic forces in your country to support Ukraine. This is my advice. Don't make this part of the political competition. This question must be clear to all of us.
And just on political level, please send many letters to congressmen, Democrats and Republicans, to introduce sanctions. Mr. Graham, whoever, who signed those 82 senators, do it. Because if not, it's more or less, if you would come back to Second World War, it's like instead of punishing Hitler, it's giving him a hand. Or even thinking how to open the markets to Hitler. Like, this is what kind of talk we have in Washington. Are you crazy? If then, those who would fight with Hitler would open the economic markets, we would be all in concentration camps. For sure, I would be, and all of those freedom fighters. So introduce sanctions, because until now, China and all those other countries, Venezuela's and Cuba's and Belarus and Georgia's of today, 90% of goods that are kind of sanctions on European market, they still muddle through different countries and go to kill kids, women. And this is not about even weapons. This is about sanctions. This would be the best solution right now for Ukrainians, because Russian economy is dying. Putin was hoping that Trump might save him. But if he would not, and instead of to introduce sanctions, this economy of Texas side would die.
You know, I will say this. Let's get the microphone to the next person, Mary, but I will say this. It is far different to hear real people talking to you about really what's happening than watching CNN or Fox, right? It really brings it home on a human level. So this works. This is working. Who's next? Yes.
I've got the mic, thanks. And thank you all for being here. I'm an assistant professor over at Gettysburg College, and I feel like we're in a very different place, and you all are acutely aware, obviously, of the Cold War and the history, but we're in a really, really different place. And I could go for a long question, but I want to get to your views. One of the things that introduced caution in the Biden administration and Trump actively used in the campaign was that we're looking at World War III, and not just the ideological war and not just the propaganda war, but a hot war, full-on NATO, Russia, hot war. And that definitely gave Biden pause, and I'm sure it's giving Trump pause in his own way. So just to have a few of you deal with what is the European view on how close we are to a much wider, much hotter conflict, especially with Russia and Medvedev in particular, openly threatening the planet and Europe in particular with nuclear use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will try to answer. First of all, I would like to say, you spoke about the campaign of Trump, and I would like to say one thing which is connected with that, which was the one point which was my frustration in the Trump campaign was when he said, "I will fix it." For me, this sentence is not democratic, because for me, a citizen, the job of a citizen begin the next day of election. And "I will fix it" means vote for me and go to Netflix. Vote for me and I don't need you, citizen. Okay, and that is for me one thing very important, and that's the reason why we are talking about that. Talk, explain, write, and on. The citizens are in permanence on board. About the World War III, and I think that the reason why he said, "I will fix that in 24 hours." Okay, I will finish this war in 24 hours. Done. Okay. My direction for that, my cap, is you won't change me, and you won't change my family, and you won't change my politics, you won't change my friends. Okay, we didn't attack. We didn't invite anybody, even with NATO, even with European community. We didn't attack, and we have that's for me. Of course, there is a risk. Of course, there is a risk. There are crazy people in Russia last week saying that we have to send a bomb to Berlin. And not stupid people known. Okay. But we cannot enter this game. I cannot stand people saying, "Yes, but he's the biggest one. But he's strong. He has bomb, he has nuclear. And what? And what?" I don't want to attack him. I don't want to he make what he wants in Moscow. Okay, but I think that the red line we have to defend is our liberty, what we call our liberty, what is our common value. And then, for me, it's not. The first thing is what I am and what we are, and then we cannot come back on that and trying to negotiate because he's very strong. No, he's very strong, but he has not tried for that. Okay, and not beyond that. But that is my red line, and there is a risk. I am not believing that it is a big risk because he's playing. It's a kind of choreography, fighting choreography. Okay, But yes, there is a risk of confrontation, but it's not because I'm smaller than you that I will let you attack my family.
Yeah, if I may answer your question, based on my deep experience dealing with Russia and also my knowledge of history, the only reason to attack us for Russia will be our weakness. If we will be weak, they will attack us for sure. Because you have to understand the logic of the regime of Putin. This regime is not able to fulfill, for the moment, any economical, cultural, civilizational needs of the Russian people. Zero. Believe me, zero. The only way how to legitimize the power of Putin in his own eyes and in the eyes of the many Russians is to promote the idea of the Russian Empire and to promote the idea of rebuilding this empire, or rebuilding the Soviet Union, which is seen in the Putin's ideology as a part of the Russian. The Soviet Union is a part of the Russian history. And to create freedom.
He wants to make Russia great again, I think.
He wants to make Russia great again, that's for sure. And the only reason when we will not be, actually, and I was sure for the very beginning that he will attack Ukraine sooner or later, because if you read him, if you read what he's talking, he's actually explained to us everything many years ago, exactly as Adolf Hitler did in his book, Mein Kampf. He actually, you can blame Hitler for many things, obviously, but not for being quite open what he will do with the power. He will quite open, but if you will reading Putin, it was quoted today, he said that the biggest tragedy of the 20th century was the collapse of Soviet Union, not Holocaust, not the Second or the First World War, the collapse of Soviet Union, which was responsible for millions of deaths, not only Russian citizens. And actually, as you, I hope, know, the Second World War started with the alliance between Hitler and Stalin. Stalin became enemy of Hitler only after Hitler attacked Stalin. And actually, as we know today from a very credible historical sources, till the last seconds of a German attack, Stalin was not believing in it. He was actually prosecuting the people who are coming to him with the intelligence reports about Hitler preparing for invasion. So Russian Empire is a danger solution for the world. And they want to fight. If you read the propaganda, if you see that today, believe me, there are military lessons in kindergartens in Russia. They are teaching small kids how to kill the enemies of Mother Russia. It is not a good perspective. Holy Mother Russia. And I was overhearing all the recordings which were published partly by our intelligence, which we overheard the conversation between Russian soldiers on the front with their relatives back in Russia. It was partly a job of the Polish intelligence. And it is, believe me, dramatic, because you have an insight of their minds, what they are talking to their families back in Russia. They are proud of stealing goods. The Russian woman is calling her man, telling him how to safely rape Ukrainian woman. safely raped, but safely for him, not for the woman, obviously. This is something which you cannot imagine, how those people are demoralized. They are entering the Ukrainian houses and calling back, look, they are living like in West. And believe me, they are entering the villages which are not up to the Western standards. But for Russians, the simple fact that they call, as they call it in the conversation, they have warm toilets. I was actually surprised. What does it mean, warm toilet? You know, the toilet should be warm. But, the warm toilet means that the toilet is in the house. It means they have a warm toilet. You know, I visited Bucha 3 days after liberation. I heard, just after my return to Poland, I said to the Polish journalist, anything in my 50 years old life prepared me for seeing that, what I saw in Bucha. And believe me, sharing these stories with you, I'm not here to provoke les bourgeois, yeah? Not to make you happy with being safe in the United States and hearing some strange Polish senator telling you terrible stories about bad Russians who are behaving badly in the faraway Ukraine. Not, I'm telling you that you are in danger. You are in danger. Your way of life is in danger. And this fight we are fighting for democracy and freedom everywhere in the world is our common fight. Because I deeply believe that anyone can be safe and free if there are people on this planet who are not safe and free. Sooner or later, it will come to us if we will not defeat it. And we are able to defeat it. We have moral right to defeat it. And we are just better. In this very simple meaning of this word, we are better because our world is better because it's open for everyone. And if you look of the direction, how the people are escaping, and you know that I'm not talking only and purely about economy. The people are escaping from the countries which are poorer, but also less free, to the countries who are richer and more free. And there is a link, my dear friends, between being relatively rich and being relatively free. And there is also a link between being not rich and being not free.
Thank you. Who has the microphone? I don't know. Okay, I think Sheila wanted to ask a question. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for these very powerful presentations. It takes a lot of courage for you all to leave your homeland and come here and to really fight for the hearts and minds of Americans at this very fraught time in our own lives. As you know, we are experiencing our own existential crisis here, and it's within that context that I thought about the question about the hot war versus the cold war, and I'm sitting here kind of shaking in my boots a bit or my sandals, as it were, because all of you has said essentially, America has tried to kind of walk a very fine line here, which has become finer still. But you said it's World War III, and it's really about America. That's really poignant. Can you talk about that a little bit more? You've done some of that, but I'd like to just think about strategically how you are getting that message across. And I'm thinking about a couple of organizations, and I'm going to hand the mic back, the ICJ, the courts. I'm thinking about religious institutions, and I'm thinking about the PR strategy. Thank you.
Well done. Dr. Warshaw, would like, and then maybe we could take a few and then you can answer all together. That might work, yes.
This question is directed to Mr. Kaminsky, but also if everybody else would weigh in on it. It's a little about politics in Europe. You know, we've all talked about politics with Cole mentioned earlier in the United States, but I'd like to get your sense on something. Mr. Kaminsky, Poland has been absolutely wonderful about accepting almost 1 million refugees from Ukraine into its country. More than 1 million. Wonderful, thank you. But in the elections that started May 18th and continue on June 1st, there seems to be some question about whether Poland is still interested in supporting them at the level you have been. And that's because some right-wing politicians seem to be questioning it. So my question to you is, do you think politics from the right is going to impact how Poland supports existing and future refugees? And to everyone else, look at Italy. What do you think about the impact of the right wing on support for Ukraine right now in Europe?
To be honest, there are two right wings in Poland. The funny story is that those Poles who are right wing and very pro-Trump are at the same time very pro-Ukrainian. The previous government, the previous Kaczynski government, was essential for in delivering the military support for Ukraine in the first hours of the conflict. And it was Kaczynski's personal decision. Unfortunately, as many European right, Kaczynski's party is under huge influence of this, let's say, anti-Western ideology, which is wrongly mixing the commitment to conservative values with extremist views about Europe, about sexual and national and religious minorities, about, all the stuff actually which many of us who grew up in 80s, and honestly, most of my friends, we grew up as conservatives. When you lived in Poland of 80s, it was very hard not to be a conservative, with Ronald Reagan in United States, with Polish Pope in Rome, with Margaret Thatcher in UK, we've been conservatives.
Can I say something? I guess the phrase is not conservative so much as nationalist.
Yeah, but and in Europe, it's sometimes it's really close to each other. Unfortunately, what I'm trying to say in my country is you can be a good conservative not being a nationalistic. You can be a good conservative not being anti-Semite. And you can be a good conservative and being tolerant towards people of different religions, different sexual orientations, and so on and so on. Why not? Why not? There is as a Christian, I'm not Catholic, but I'm a Christian, and for me to love other people is actually the call of Jesus Christ. It's not ideology. It's my Savior. He told me you should love other people, and that's something which is it's quite religious, not political. But what is important, I think. And today we are fighting for the soul of Poland as well. But believe me that most of the polls, according to all public opinion polls I'm aware of, most of them are fully supporting Ukraine in this war. There are some historical issues between Poland and Ukraine, which are delicate, tough sometimes, but I'm not touching it, and I'm famous in my country of not touching any controversy between Poland and Ukraine, because I think that it's much more important to focus on the good things. But believe me, my country will support Ukraine, and the new president will support Ukraine as well, and I'm quite sure. But obviously, I'm terrified by the rise of the radical nationalistic right in Europe. I'm terrified, because it's actually what Putin wants. He wants to destroy united Europe because he wants to discuss with Berlin, with Vilnius, with Paris, with Warsaw, with Copenhagen separately. He wants to divide us, and he loves all the nationalists in Europe. He loves it. And he's supporting it with money, and he's supporting it with propaganda. If you see the anti-Ukrainian inputs in the Polish social media, they are exactly the same as in Germany, just in Polish. And they are the same I like in France, just in French. They are, what I'm also trying to deliver to United States of America is that we are lacking, as the Western world, an aggressive information policy. We are allowing them to destroy us from inside, and we are cutting the funds for the radio stations, which are destroying them from inside.
Correct.
And believe me, one radio station or hundreds of our trolls working in the Russian Rusnet, working in the Russian internet, are much cheaper than one F-35. Much cheaper. And we can, good hackers can destroy Moscow. And you know what we are talking about actually is how to get rid of Putin. Look, every revolution in Russia happened in capitals. And if you're talking about the huge Russia, how to destabilize such a huge country, it looks like a challenge. But if you're talking about a city of 20 million people, which is Moscow, and if you make a chaotic city out of Moscow, you will destroy Putin's regime. Why we are not doing it? You shouldn't shoot a single shot just to shut down the metro system, the subway system in Moscow, and you will have a revolution in this country.
Well, I'm afraid I think this is. I'm going to quickly let the people whose hands up throw in some questions. Then we're going to have to pull it to a close. But we really are going to have to allow them just some closing remarks as well, because I'm still worried about just how close we are to Putin succeeding. I mean, you've shared a lot of stuff, and it seems like there's a real threat, but it also seems like he's making some advances, so how worried should we be? Okay, let's quickly take up the questions together, and then we'll let them close. Yes, Vlada.
Hello, my name is Vlada, and I am from Ukraine, from Kyiv, Ukraine. Thank you for all of your support. So my... Slava Ukraini! Героям слава. So what I would like to say right now, just to double down on all of your points, I'm so glad all of you together here from Europe. But what is important is, and I was born in Kyiv, Ukraine, so in Soviet Union. So to bring this to all Americans, everybody who live on this land of the free and land of the brave, don't be afraid. This is the first thing. Another thing is when Russian Empire or Russian soldiers, or you talking about things you listening on the phone with the families. So the main thing, they're not fighting with Georgians in Georgia. They're not fighting with Ukrainian in Ukraine. They're not fighting with Polish people in Poland or Lithuania or anywhere. They always in the heads, they're fighting with Americans. With Americans. And the reason is because, as Reagan said, city on the shining...
city on the shining hill, yes.
On the shining hill.
Yes.
Because this is the most important thing for all of you to understand. It doesn't matter what religion, what the culture, what traditions you are, who you're sleeping with, what are you eating with, what do you believe in. But you understand, Americans is under the threat. And this is most important thing. And thank you for all of you, Europe, coming to America to bring in this message. And I understand you're going to be in DC and some other places. So thank you for doing everything what you do. But all of us here in America, please remember that. It's about your freedom. It's about your rights and democracy. Thank you.
Oh boy, look at all the hands here. Okay, you guys have to be short to let everyone get in. Go ahead to this, and then there, and then we'll be done. Go ahead.
I just have one really quick comment, and that's I would love to hear more phrasing, not so much as when will Ukraine be able to join NATO, but when does NATO want Ukraine? NATO needs to invite Ukraine. Ukraine is an up-and-coming, they're a powerful country, the best military going on right now, the drone technology. NATO needs Ukraine.
All right. Quickly over here, thank you for keeping it short. There, and then there. We do want, since you came out, to make sure that your voice is heard as well. Mary, right there. and then we'll go.
Hi. I'm just wondering, our social media has taken over the way we believe, the way we think, etc. From your point of view, from a European point of view, what would be trusted sources for Americans to tap into to really understand what's happening in your countries?
Would you give it over here? I will just say quickly, BBC is a good place, but go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am from Ukraine, and I cannot miss opportunity to thank you, everyone, especially for you, our guest, because I know a lot of Ukrainian people are in the world, and you give really the second home for us. When war started, maybe after 7 days, I went to Poland, and I lived for 3 months, and I received a lot of really help, hospitality, and my relatives, my friends, they live in another country. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you for all Americans, behalf of all Ukrainians, because we feel really safety here. And today I am representing International Service Center, and 5 of us, Ukrainian beautiful ladies, and we help Ukrainian people, Ukrainian refugees, and I want to give you some message that now Ukrainian people have really big problem with our status. Our people now without work authorization, they have much problem, issues, and my message is to take care about people. Maybe you can talk with government, American government, European, that here came people with big families, 8 children, 11 children. They really don't have place where to work because a lot of cities destroyed, especially maybe now it's the most difficult time than was 3 years ago. And my daughter, she's in Ukraine, and I'm from the west of Ukraine. I called her 2 days ago because it was very terrible attack, and I asked, did she hear some noise? And she said yes, because drones were our houses. It's terrible. That's why I am behalf of all Ukrainians. When, for example, it will be problem to continue our status, please don't kick out us from Europe. I am behalf on Ukrainian people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Even here, the status of people who are in the country is very much in jeopardy these days. I mean, we went through this with the Bhutanese community, so, and of course our Haitian community. But yes, quickly, 1, 2, and then 3. All right.
Thank you for being here. My question would be, considering Pennsylvania has some of the most populous of immigrants from Ukraine, I believe Schuylkill County, where I happen to be from, has a very high concentration. I send my daughters, I'm Roman Catholic, but I send my daughters to Ukrainian Catholic school, and I became aware of all of the humanitarian efforts, and from what you said, and from what others have said, how can religious organizations, Christian and not, how can they come together beyond humanitarian aid to support people in the Ukraine? And now Ukrainian Byzantine churches, Byzantine Catholics are under Pope Leo. How much impact does that have, and what can be done would be one part of my question, one part of our question.
I'm going to be reaching out to you guys because we're organizing an interfaith summit now on the state of the world and the U.S. influences. So I'll be reaching out.
Wonderful. So good afternoon. I'll keep mine quick, but I'm Cheryl. I'm the director of the Civil Rights Division for Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, and this is an honor to be in a space to hear globally a collective conversation on what's happening. Our focus obviously is Pennsylvania, and so in this context we're very, very local, but we are PA's peacemakers. And so I just wanted to point out that in Pennsylvania we are in the top 10 states of organized local anti-government groups and hate groups. And so it's heavy work, and even listening here. So I guess my question to you all is what drives you and what keeps you? And I think it's important that we hear on that. Thank you.
Final question at the back.
Thank you all for coming. I just want to say one comment first, and then a question following up on that. And the comment was that I appreciated Monsieur Petit and his comment about borders. I think sometimes we talk about the rules-based order. It's a little bit abstract, but the borders I think is very interesting. Almost, I would push it a little bit further. I have a PhD in history. You know, if the Danes were to say we want the Kalmar Union back, or if they started arguing with the Schleswig-Holstein question with the Germans, or the Lithuanians and Poles wanted the Lithuanian-Polish Commonwealth back just to get started, or the First Empire with the French. These are all historical examples that require a little bit of explanation, but you don't, and that is good. We don't have Germans wanting Lebensraum right now, right? And so I think the Ruski Mir point is very good, although it requires a little bit of explanation for most Americans. So I just want to say I appreciate that. And then my question, though, is there are negotiations going on right now. And a defense guarantee is one of the questions on the table, some sort of guarantees. But another question that is key in those negotiations is territory and borders. And I was curious how you think we should, how should we think about the status of Ukrainian borders in the ongoing negotiations?
So you have an abundance of issues that have been raised.
Okay.
Wait, let me finish, because I'm going to throw one final one at you, and then I'm going to start with Mr. Winkler and then work our way down so Sister Brown is closing us out. So when you're thinking about this, one of the things that I think baffles all of us is why aren't the Russian people doing this? What is it about people liking strong men, you know, that just want to tell you what to do? So take it as you will, Mr. Winkler.
Yeah, thank you very much also for the variety and of questions and your engagement on this. And one question, what really bothered me was the question you said, which sources can we trust? So I would recommend, like we said it before, try to get original sources. That means you have here a very strong Ukrainian community, and of course you have an interest in there, but you have very good sources towards the Ukrainian society. But also, and this is something really important, it was mentioned before, look what you hear from Russia. Look what you hear in the speeches of Putin. Look what you hear, or try to get the original, not the reporting about it. Try to get the original words of Medvedev, of Putin, and then compare it to what we have, to what we achieve, to what our free liberal societies are. And then you see there is their goal, their aim is to destroy us. And this is, therefore, this is more convincing than any experts who try to analyze anything. And of course, BBC, and you know all that, we have that. But if you really want to be convincing, they have to get the original sources. And then there's no doubt that Russian goal is to destroy not only Ukraine, but to attack Western world, to attack Western societies in our way of life. And so, therefore, this would be my recommendation, to get into the real words of the aggressors. And then nothing could be more convincing. So disinformation, propaganda, everything is in war times, unfortunately, goes with it. But what they say is convincing, and then the last would understand that this is dangerous and this is something we should all fight for.
And now AI easily translates anything.
Well, two questions. Direct question. First question: what drives me? I would say that as we are here, Lithuania is driving me, because first of all, Lithuania is having the car but more generally, Žygis was in the frame, and at the beginning of this idea, it was in Vilnius that we decided the first time on the 6th March. We had a Kalinowski forum, if I remember, that, okay, we have to go there. Okay, 6 March 22. Question about the border. I have 3 hours, yes? 1648, Westphalia, okay? We decided, okay? Then the model is working, installing, okay? First rupture, it is Goebbels, 36. Nobody will tell me inside my border what I can do with my Jew and my communist. Okay, then war, then we get out. And then the fact that we are creating European community is not a treaty, is not a citadel, it's only a mediation tool. I remind everybody, especially but at the end of the war, Saarland is France during 15 years. It was not easy in the street. We want to get back to Germany, okay? There will be campaign, okay? There will be a referendum, du Speck Franzosen. You are a French for the food, because if we are French, we can eat, and in Germany it's reconstruction, there is nothing to eat, okay? But we manage that, knowing that, okay, we need borders in order to construct, but a border is not a wall. Border is not a red line, but border has to be a clear line. If you have not clear line, if you have gray zone, it's always in the advantage of the imperialist, as Belarusian today. Okay? And the last thing about territorium in the negotiation, I don't know, I am not in the negotiation, and I think it's wrong to say that there are negotiations now. There is no negotiation now. No negotiation. It's a choreography, but I think that there is an interest to do. But we have also example, and I was very touched by the fact that I discussed with some Ukrainian colleagues about that, and they asked me, okay, explain me that. And they came, and we spent 1 hour to explain. For example, what France do with Nouvelle-Calédonie. Okay, we had a war in '88. We had a war, and there is a conflict in New Caledonia about shall we be independent or not. And it's very difficult because half of the population is really Kanak, and half of the population is French since cycles, okay? And we decided to take time. And it was a decision, for example, in '88, we will make a referendum in 30 years. Okay, but during the 30 years we have to work together. Okay, and I think that when the citizens are in fact of such problems as we were in Saarland, as we are in New Caledonia, as we have Corsica in France, you know, it's always a problem, Bretagne, okay, but it's not impossible. Of course it's a problem. We have to see the conflict and to analyze the conflict, but to solve the conflict as human beings and not as in the jungle.
Well, I will try to make it quick. Borders. Remember Sumner Weller's declaration and no recognition of Baltic occupation. It saved us. Do it for Ukraine. Your congressman, Fitzpatrick? No, Brian? Okay, but Brian Fitzpatrick registered similar law on Ukraine. Do it in the Congress. It's important. Whatever is happening, sooner or later, it will save it. Second thing, never trade with devil. There is no choice for America between Europe and Russia. We are you. If America sides with Russia, end of Europe, and end of America. And finally, politicians always have to find some silver bullet for very complicated problems. If I would be you mentioned religious organizations, some other, communities, World Affairs Council, lobby one phrase: Ukraine, NATO, 33. That's why Putin is so mad at NATO. That's why NATO is the key. Because with NATO, even now we are 25 times stronger than Russia, I mean economically. If we build our muscles in 2-3 years, end of Russian wars. As we did it, nobody wanted us in NATO. Nobody, except Senator McCain was fighting, few other senators. Biden actually also lobby each senator. It's not about the president. Those are senators who are taking that decision. Go to each door, write your letters, make a campaign, and organize it. You have Polish American community, you have Lithuanian American, you have Ukrainian, you have American Jewish Council, AGC, who is with you. Pool it all. You have Taiwanese who are on your side because they are afraid that it will happen with Taiwan. You have Latin Americans, you have Cuban lobby. It's a lot. It's the whole America. Go to each congressman and fight for Ukraine NATO 33 because Finland and Sweden already joined. In Vilnius, we fixed the problem. Membership action plan is not necessary, just invitation. And the only capital that today resists is Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So I was talking very much today, so I will just shortly tell you one thing about the borders and one thing about what drives me. The borders. There is a phrase I like to repeat here in the United States. How important borders are not only in purely geopolitical sense, but also in ideological sense. Till today, the eastern border of the Great Dukeness of Lithuania is limiting the uncontrolled power of Putin, and it's dividing the territory in which unlimited influence of Putin and the territories in which Putin is facing at least troubles, or military troubles or political troubles like in Belarus. Because you have to know, we didn't mention it, but there is a Belarusian society which is different to Russian society, which is suffering a lot. There is the largest in the world percentage of political prisoners in Belarusian society. There are thousands of political prisoners if in the country of 10 million people. But what distinguished Belarus from Russia? The simple fact that Belarus was a part of the Great Dukeness of Lithuania. Russia was only occupied by us from time to time, including Moscow. So, and as you know, Putin, he was forced to abolish the celebration of October Revolution as a national day of Russia, so he was forced to choose another day to make Russian people celebrate. So he chose a day of liberation of Kremlin from Polish and Lithuanian occupation. So that's actually, we are very proud of it, that today the Russians are celebrating the day when we stopped to occupy Moscow. And but the borders are still important. Don't forget about this Rzeczpospolita, the Commonwealth of Poland and Lithuania, because just after Rzeczpospolita collapsed, all of our generals, including Kościuszko and Puławski, came here to the United States of America and fought for your freedom. And just after Poland and Lithuania collapsed, the United States emerged as a world power. It is something symbolic about it, that the only foreigner who is in the monument before the White House, the only foreigner is our compatriot Tadeusz Kościuszko, the guy who actually established West Point and who was a general who fought for American and Polish and Lithuanian freedom. And actually, this is the part of the second question, what drives me? The deep sense of history of my country. What drives me and what allows me to also to be active for last 30 years in Polish politics and in European politics, to be elected countless times and to survive countless of elections, is the deep love to my country and deep love to the values of the Polish and Lithuanian Commonwealth. I was raised loving this history. I was raised loving Poland and Lithuania, and I believe in the values of democracy, of freedom, of tolerance, of freedom of religion, because the Commonwealth of Poland and Lithuania was all about. We elected our kings. No one else did it. We, Poles and Lithuanians, elected our kings. We had a parliament. We had a parliament for 500 years, and this parliament controlled our executive power. We had the second oldest constitution in the world after American Constitution. Old 19th century, we made a uprising against Russia. When I'm reading the records of my family, I see that all of them were fighting against Russians for last 200 years. My family. My grandfather was a member of a special unit of the Polish Underground Army, and he was in charge of executing the Poles who were collaborating with Hitler. And my father was in a special unit who was in charge of protecting Jews during the war. And this drives me, the deep understanding of history, of my debt to the next generations. When my country was under the communist occupation, there were people here in the United States, in Germany, in France, in all other Western countries, in Denmark as well, who were hanging the sign of Solidarność, Solidarity Movement, pictures of Lech Wałęsa at that time, sending us money and support for Solidarity Trade Union, and we became free. For last 30 years, I'm a free elected member of Polish and European parliaments. I live in the free and democratic country, and it's something. And I owe to other people to help them to achieve exactly the same. There is no reason why Poles or Lithuanians or Danes should live better than Ukrainians or Belarusians. Why? We all deserve the same fate. We all deserve to be a free people under the free sky. And that's why I'm here. And believe me, for many of us, United States of America is still, despite all the problems, it's still a shining example. And believe me that many of us, we literally cried on the 6th of January. Yes. When we saw the building so sacred for us, the building which was embodying the democracy, freedom, capital, and we saw all these pictures, and I felt humiliated. Because everything I believed is also symbolized by the Capitol Hill in Washington. And I deeply believe in America, and I deeply believe in our cooperation. I believe in your soul. I believe in your great example. Because America is a great example of the country for everyone who is sharing the love to other people, who is sharing the commitment to democracy. And you have to be proud of being Americans. And believe me, at the end of the day, we will win. Believe me, we will win. There is no other option. Thank you.
Ms. Brown, you will close us out.
Thank you. I'm glad you made it short this time. So I'll try to make it short. I'm quite new in politics. I was elected in 22, and before that I didn't really go that much into politics, so this is quite new for me. And obviously I'm not a middle-aged, privileged white male, but
Nor are they, right?
Yeah, they are. But I feel privileged to be here and to have this position in the Danish parliament that I do. And I feel obligated to use my voice when I have that position. And this is one of the things that I can do, and I'm really honored that you would have us here and that you are here listening to us and asking us questions. I should have listened more during history lessons, obviously, because I'm learning new stuff all the time. But what drives me is, I don't really, I'm not, it hasn't to do with Denmark for me. It's not the national feeling. For me, it has to do with justice, and it has to do with freedom. And that's why, I will get all emotional. But that's why I'm here, and that's why I travel to Ukraine when I can do it, because it's important. And as I said before, before I was elected, when I'm just sitting at home in my couch watching television, all these things are happening so far away, and it's really hard to feel it inside your body. But when you see it with your own eyes and you talk to people who has experienced gruesome things, it becomes real. And for me, that's what we have to fight for. We have to fight for everybody's freedom, so our children cannot grow up in a world like that. So that's why I'm here. Slava Ukraini.
Well, I want to, on behalf of our community, first of all, just thank you for taking the time. I think you have made it clear to us, those in this room, and these are some very influential people in this room. They will carry this message far and wide. They really will. But I think you've made it clear to us that this is not just about Ukraine, that this is about the kind of world and the kind of United States we want to live in, because if they lose, it comes here. It comes here. They know war on their shores in their country. We don't really know it here, right, in the last generations. But we might get to know it, or our children might get to know it. That's, I think, the message they're trying to warn us. We're not in this world alone. We're all connected. And I will also share with you that many of us do feel we have a fight in our own country, right? That we have to protect our values. So again, in this room, I think you've got some people who will stand with you and will help spread the word. And please don't be strangers, as we say. Keep us informed. Let us know what is going on, and we will be sure to share it. So join me. And Mary, would you come up and presenting? We have just little gifts because you may not know it, but very near here is the sweetest place on earth, Hershey chocolate, and we have some of those in the bag for you. So enjoy. The sweetest place on earth. Thank you. Thank you.
It was an honor.
It was our honor. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Very much. Thank you. We know it's a part of the thank you. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'd like to do a group picture here with our delegation, and we have a flag as well. That. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I understand. Okay, you want a picture? Okay. So please come to forefront, the Ukrainians, I believe, and stand with them.
charge of the event by any chance? Okay. So I just want to make sure, because with the IT live stream people, and I just want to make sure that I'm in the stream. Oh, yeah. In the stream? Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you. Yep, no problem.